In a stacker unit, your keyboard is underneath, so when you don't need the keyboard, it just slides away. It's a fairly small, compact unit. As far as this goes, this is probably the smallest you can get to do this kind of stuff. So it's fairly compact, easy to use. So once again, if I just took you through a transaction, similar to what I did here. So what it's doing is it's just loading the software in, because it's been sitting for a while. So that's the other thing. One of the questions people asked is, well, can I turn it off? You know, because I only have customers come in on a Wednesday or a Friday or whatever the schedule is that you have customers come in. Yep, when you turn it on, what it will do is it will download the software and any changes to the software, and it took that long to download the software. So if you turn it back on, that was what, 2 minutes? So it's fairly quick. So we hit sale. Now I've got this set up for Clerk ID, so I hit the Clerk ID. I use an outdoors card that I just happen to have kicking around. And then it pulls up my information here. So I'll say correct.
You're using the phone line with that now?
Actually, I'm using nothing with that now because the phone line here doesn't work with it. Okay. So this is just a kind of a practice demo because this phone line won't work for me. Okay, so I pick Ontario residency. I enter my postal code. And then I'll enter the license I want. So what I've done is I've selected a 3-year conservation fishing license. And then that's it. It's processing now. Now I can't go to the final step where I actually print out the license because the phone line isn't connected. But that was basically the time it took me to run through a transaction. It'll take about another minute or so for it to connect to the database and actually allow you to print. But that's the timing that we've had in the test system. It's about 2 minutes if you have an outdoors card to go through a complete transaction. If you don't have an outdoors card, it depends on how quickly you can type in the information that you want. But basically it's still fairly quick to run through that and figure it out. So that's basically the way this particular unit works. And that's the one that I suspect most of you will be getting because it is so simple. Yeah.
So on the keyboard card, you would only be using that if you're entering somebody who's not had an outdoors card. That's where you type in.
Yeah, if you anything that requires you to type in letters, you use the keyboard for. Otherwise, the keypad on the VeriFone unit will allow you to put in any numbers, and all of the commands are, you know, either OK or one of the buttons here. And it will be clearly identified what button you have to press.
Okay, and my other question is, the very first people who had the first non-resident outdoors cards, they are going to expire at the end of this year. Will they be getting a mailing asking them to renew?
And my good friend Jane will answer that.
Yes, they are.
Okay.
They will be getting that this year.
Okay, I told them all that they were going to get that because I figured you guys would have that all set up.
It's coming.
So
Yep.
we can tell them that they can expect to see that in the mail, but can they go ahead before that to the website?
Yeah, as soon as we have the shoulder season functionality on the production. This is the test unit, and it's already up in test, and we're testing to make sure it works okay, because everything you do, you want to make sure you test before you roll it out to production so that it actually works when it's live with real customers. So we're testing that right now. Once that is up and running, then they can go in and they can buy their new outdoors card, which is good for 3 more years. If they go in before that, then what they'll do is they'll get an outdoors card that's only essentially good for 2 years because it'll be 2011 and onwards. So it's probably another few weeks before they'll have the shoulder season functionality up and running.
And those notices, we're just sort of gently holding until we get that confirmation that it's up and running. So the notices of coming in a couple.
And I believe the notices have the website information on it,
Okay.
so they'll be able to go and do that.
Sign up on them.
Who's actually going to send out the notices, Jane? Is that gonna be Natural Resources or the company you
It's us.
contracted with?
We're gonna be sending it, we send it through our mailing company. It'll be
Well, the
coming-
mailing, somehow or another, you people missed a golden opportunity with the outdoor card because it came in an unidentifiable envelope. Many people threw the cards out. And there should have been a nice big letter in there. Hey, congratulations, this is your new outdoors card. Now you can go fishing in Canada anytime you want. And then people might not have thrown it in the garbage, but they thought it was one of those blank credit card things.
Yeah, actually, it was usually the wife who thought their husband had got a new Bass Pro Shops or something credit card and chopped it up before they asked the question. I don't know how that happens. But
You have a wife?
yeah, maybe I do know. Any other questions? Okay, well, I'm not sure, but I think my time is up. And I'd like to thank you very much. And as I said, we'll be rolling that out. Most of you will be seeing it next spring. The way you get your training and the way they roll it out is they will give you a phone call to just confirm what your phone connection is or what your internet connection is. Make sure the address we have in the system is correct, all of those kinds of things. That phone call will then trigger them shipping the equipment out. Shortly after they ship the equipment out, they will give you another phone call to set up an appointment to take you through the training session. Then they'll follow through with that on the appointed day, take you through the setup of the equipment, and then give you a training session, which usually takes about an hour and a half to 2 hours, actually on the equipment that you have at your place of business. So one of the things that they do, although it's phone training, is they want you to do it on your actual equipment at your actual location so that they're comfortable that you know how to use the equipment and that it all works properly. Once that's done, they do the training in the test environment, the same environment I used here today. Once that's done, they turn you live in the production environment and you can sell licenses through the system. So it's kind of a three-step process. They've done this for about 10 years now using this same thing and they find it very effective.
So just a question, point of interest, like radio telephones, very expensive to spend an hour and a half on a radio telephone. So for those of us who have regular phone lines at our home offices or our offices in town where we're not going to be doing this, could we not be walked through it there before we actually get to our facility where we're going to be at a radio telephone where it's phenomenally expensive to talk on a radio phone?
The one caveat there is that it doesn't test it on the radio phone. But you could do that and just make sure that the system is working, that you are. But then you probably want to set up one more phone call just to make sure that it does work on the radio phone as well.
Perhaps not for an hour and a half.
But not for an hour and a half because you're already trained.
Exactly.
And you don't need to have that piece, you just need to have the last little piece, making sure it works on the radio phone. So there are some wrinkles, like we've introduced a bunch of things to this company they've never done before. Licenses in French and English, for example, that's something entirely new to them. You know, doing some of the things that we do in Ontario, the banking rules are different in Canada than they are in the States. So there's a bunch of new things that they're learning. Radio phones they have done before, but not a lot. So it'll be something they'll have to work through as well.
There's another, Betty's just saying, how do we work it on the telephone when, like how do we speak on the telephone when that's using our telephone line?
We don't have two lines.
We don't have two lines. Like we have one telephone line, one radio line, that's all Bell will give us. It's a party line.
We'll have to,
all Bell gives
we'll
us.
have to work that through, and that's something that we'll have to figure out with the company on how that actually works. Like there are some of these questions, we don't have answers to everything, but we have raised them with Active, and they're looking at the way that they can do some of those things. But there will be some challenges there for them that we'll have to work through.
And that would be a nightmare if one of the party members picked up the phone and interrupted the transaction.
Yeah, they don't recommend party lines, so that's something else that we'll have to look at.
They don't
Will we
recommend
be able
those
to
are
take
not
that
party.
hardware out of the box and play with it a little bit without hooking up to a phone line, turn it on and go through it?
You can't, well, you can take it to the stage that I've taken it to, so you can go to where you're almost ready to print, but you can't print because you don't connect up to the database to confirm the license. So essentially this is like it's not connected to a telephone.
Right.
It allows you to go so far and then it stops you. So you could do that.
Can that unit print out of the whole customer list from 1 month? or I have to go for each receipt and then print it, like if I want to keep a database from my license, which I issue.
Well, you print out the receipt when you print out the license. So if you're printing out,
I had the address, everything, so if I want to add up to my customer database, I use these slips, put their address in there and send them out mail. So if I have a monthly report from all the...
no, the monthly report doesn't give you that kind of data. It just gives you what the license was that was sold, the cost and that sort of thing. It won't give you their name, address, all of that sort of thing. The only way you're going to get that is the receipt printed out of the system. And there's some privacy rules that didn't allow us to do that kind of thing. So the bi-weekly report that you actually get out of the system is just, you sold this many licenses, it was this type of licenses, here's how much they cost, here's your commission, here's what you owe.
But could we at least get a name on that, so we know who we sold license, not all the information?
No. But you can get it out of the receipt here. So as long as you save the receipts that you print out of the machine, you'll have all of that anyway.
Yeah, because literally you're going to want to print off your receipts, have a duplicate to keep on file, because when you get your bi-weekly or monthly reports and they say you sold 583 8-day conservation licenses and you're only tracking 290, then you can say, wait a minute, I've got all my receipts.
Yeah. Well, the other thing is you can do it day by day as well, instead of waiting for that full 2 week, because you can print out a sales transaction report every day. So what you probably want to do is check that. It says I sold 29, but I only think I sold 27 or something, so that you can keep ahead of it as you go along. Yeah.
And then you have that 3-day window
Yeah.
to correct and
But
say,
if
wait a
you
second.
find out that you're getting the wrong report out well before you get the 2 week report, I would call M&R the first time you see it and say there seems to be a problem here. I'm getting a discrepancy. You don't need to wait until the end of the 2 week period to say I got a problem. Okay. Thanks very much then, and just coincidentally, this is my last official act as an M&R employee because I retire on Friday. So,